Dizziness Explained is a great song to start off the album.
It's got a lot of really cool riffy bits that are pretty challenging.
Dizziness actually predates Aviations entirely. I wrote most of this song when I was on a vacation with my dad in Canada. So it was just write music and go fishing for, I think, like a week.
Structurally, I really like that it has representative elements that are going to show up all over the album. Super groovy sections, aggressive bits, that sort of ambient, moody middle section, and it has a bridge that I'm just in love with. Personally, I think it gives me a chance to stretch my legs a little, but I also have some breaks and some spots where I can mess around a little more, especially in a live setting. So that's pretty neat. That's pretty.
I would say Dizziness sort of refers to like how crazy and chaotic this song is compared to some of the others, especially in the very beginning. Those heartbeat samples give that feeling of someone getting more anxious. There's a bunch of spooky samples kind of going all over the place. These kind of running strings going like back and forth. Those samples actually all came from the pre-breakdown section in Outliers. I'd like to think of it as a thematic thing rather than me being lazy, but I guess it's a little bit of both.
So when the song opens, I don't quite double what the guitars are doing, but I had that same sort of, tritones and then one thing that I have been messing around with is I make it even more dissonant. And I think that's good since I'm playing something that's so crunchy and dissonant. Then later in the set, if and when I mess something up, hopefully the audience will be like, oh, well, he's just such a crunchy and dissonant player. That must have been a deliberate choice. So I got that going for me. And then we get into the song proper, and there's a bunch of cool sections, back to back. It's just it's just a riff salad.
At the time, I was really into Scale to Summit. That's why there's the one section with the add 9 chords.
As we're demoing stuff out, I really have to interpret the guitar parts that he writes down because they're not always very guitaristic in how they're written. And I have a very specific way of how I hear guitar played, and I really like to dig in. That's why my hand always hurts because I pick so hard. But it sounds good, so it's worth it.
Dizziness, from my perspective, and I don't think the guys know this, but this was the only song that the lyrics came before the melody. Typically, I'll listen to a song, I'll really internalize all of the drum hits, the rhythms, and then I'll begin humming melodies. It's actually similar to that Devin Townsend video.
And then I'll listen back to it and I'll transcribe it like, soon you'll know the way. And then you just keep refining it by what you think you said. And then it often surprises you. You're just like, oh, I'm gay, or whatever. Right?
And so he's thinking about syllable count and vowel sounds, rhyming as well as the flow of the line. Half of the process is just listening to the music a lot. This song, though, I wrote the lyrics and then started trying to sing lines over the music. I think I was watching The Walking Dead, and so that kind of influenced me to write about zombies or something. I don't know. I've never really tried to just write about something like that. Maybe in the future I'll do that with other songs I work on, but usually it's melody and rhythm first, and then the lyrics come last. Another cool thing is the screaming section.
That middle section is actually quad tracked, where all the heavy vocals are.
And I'll tell you right now, I don't scream. I'm not good at screaming, which is why there's layering of sand.
This was the only song where I got to do really in-your-face yell scream things. I'd love to do some more of that stuff in the future because it's fun.
When I do my demos and I'm writing the vocals, I'll do some yelling parts to kind of symbolize or note where these screams could go.
There was a couple melodies in that song that actually didn't end up making it into the final cut of the song because we replaced them with better vocal lines and guitar solo.
The way I kind of go about solos, instead of writing something down note for note, I find that looping the solo section and just playing over it and recording everything gives me kind of the best of both worlds, something I wouldn't normally play and something that feels natural or off the cuff. A lot of times there's parts of the solos that I played once and I have no idea what I did, but that's what's on the record, and then I have to learn it, and it's god damn it. Anyway, I'm super proud of that solo. It's really crazy, and it's really difficult to play, so come watch me it up live.
Then we get into this moody, ambient middle section that I like a lot. And there's not a ton of thirds, just like a lot of, 1/5/8. So live, I can mess around with that a little bit more.
I love the clean sections. Those are my favorite parts to write and record. It's a place where I can really do what I want and take control of the music versus, molding around it.
And then that middle section, there's all the taiko drum stuff. I thought that would have been a good idea because I was playing Donkey Konga at the time. That's, you can grab inspiration from anywhere, I guess.
There's a bunch of cool piano layers now that weren't there before, which I'm super into.
A lot of the piano on that track is overdub. We didn't really know if piano was going to be a focal point at the time because he wasn't even in the band. We just hired him to play a couple sparse parts. Richard can learn music in a stupid small window of time. Oh yeah, I learned the guitar part. And then I was like, okay, well that's sick. We're going to put that on everything now.
Sam and Richard are playing a melody that's in that section, there used to not be vocals at all. The song was done back in 2015 or something like that. But then I was listening to a lot of the Contortionists at the time, and so I tried something there, and it worked. Really set the stage for the next section, which is known as the dad riff.
So there's this really bouncy riff that comes after the clean section of the song that has a lead in that's a sample of a Harley motorcycle revving up. That's one of my favorite parts on the album. Every time that hits, just everyone should be bouncing.
Super heavy, really cool. That one wrote itself vocal wise. It was kind of just I'm gonna belt a long sustained note and you guys are gonna play this awesome breakdown. It's gonna sound sweet. I guess the dad riff's name came from the feeling that it gave. You're hopping on a Harley Davidson and it's just you're revving that engine. But yes, the little contortionist style thing that happens right before that has made the dad riff even bigger daddy.
Actually, he first sent me a demo of that little section, that idea, while I was at a wedding, and I was listening to it just through my iPhone speakers, and I thought it sounded sick. Started demoing the idea the next day, and that's what you hear on the record. The vocal production on this record as a whole, really went above and beyond what I was expecting it to be. I literally ran out of tracks on a lot of the sessions.
And then when we get to the bridge, like I mentioned before, this is one of my favorite spots on the album, and it's right there in the first track. I feel for the first half of the song, I do a lot of doubling of the guitars, or simple harmonizing, or something completely unique. And I think this bridge, I think it's nice because it's one of the first times where we're working together. So the guitars are doing something and I'm adding to it in a different way rather than just doubling and doing articulatory reinforcement. Spots like that on the album, I think, set the band and the sound of the band as a little more unique.
The drum fill at the end, that was improvised at the session. That's probably the only fill I will ever play the same way twice because I like it. I think it's cool.
The outro actually has a bunch of really cool samples from my favorite game ever, Majora's Mask, Zelda. If you listen to the very last drop right when that clean outro begins, there's a bit of a chung chung. That's the sound of the bell tower in Majora's Mask telling the player that it's the dawn of a new day, which is, I thought, a kind of a cool parallel between the last vocal line of the record. Also, towards the end of that section, the heartbeat, as that comes back, first it's played on a cajon, and as it fades into the heartbeat sample, it's kind of a cool natural way of bringing it back as things were explained to you. I don't know, but it's just a sense of calm as we go into the rest of the record. There's a little bell tower sample in there as well at the very end that I pitched to be in the same key as the song. Hope you guys enjoyed getting your Dizziness Explained, and we will see you in the next video. Next up is Quest.